guys, welcome back to Adult with Autism. I'm Lee and I'm an adult with autism. You can probably tell I'm not in my usual setting of my spare room / office this week. That's because, I don't know if you can tell by my face, but I am exhausted. However, I need to get this video filmed and done so that I can get it out to you guys by Saturday, but I am really tired. I have zero makeup on, I have not bothered with my hair, this little bit keeps flicking out and doing my head in as well, but I need to stay on track and get this video done. And this week I am talking a little bit about the Autism Assessment. But before we get started with that, if you like this video, you like any of my videos, hit subscribe, click the bell icon, and that way you'll be notified when I post my next videos. I do upload a video every Saturday at the moment, but as I get a bit more momentum with this and get into the flow of things, I'm hoping to do some bonus videos at some point, but you won't know if I post those bonus videos unless you hit the bell icon. And don't despair, I haven't filmed my usual intro of me making a cup of tea, walking around with a cup of tea, or something to do with a cup of tea, but I do have my trusty cup of tea this week in my lovely Nightmare Before Christmas mug that my wonderful boyfriend bought me as one of my Christmas presents this year, so I am cup tea'd up as usual. Right, so let's get started with this, because this is a bit of a subject that I could probably ramble on and on about for ages, but there's still a lot of adults out there that are waiting for assessment or wondering if they should bother going forward for a diagnosis, because they know they're autistic, but it can be a very daunting prospect to go forward with something new for anybody that has autism. So I just wanted to go through the steps from start to finish on what kind of things to expect from the and not just the actual assessment that you get on the day, but from the actual, okay, I think I'm autistic, so I'm going to go speak to somebody about it. And this is all what I experienced in some places around the country. I'm in Derbyshire, other counties, cities, towns, whatever, maybe a little bit different. And don't forget, obviously, I am in England, so it will be a completely different process in other countries. Now, throughout my life, and I've seen this story sort of repeated by other people as well, is that I didn't recognise I was autistic. I am now 35 years old and I was only diagnosed recently, and I always thought it was mental health issues. I'd spent over 10 years going backwards and forwards to doctors, different mental health departments, and I still had no diagnosis at all, and I'd only ever been told that I suffered with low mood. Yeah, I know, right? And I was given CBT, didn't help, and I was given counselling, also didn't help, surprisingly enough. Skip to October 2017 and I started feeling like I was suffering with the same issues. I wasn't coping with things very well, I wasn't sleeping very well, that kind of thing, and there wasn't really anything particularly going on in my life that would really cause me those issues. I was employed, I was in a relationship, I had a lovely house, I had a cute cat, everything seemed to be going fine. Anyway, I rang the doctors to make an appointment, and I discussed with my then partner about wanting to go to the doctors and those sorts of things, just for, normal relationship communication stuff. And he said to me, well, you do have some autistic traits, and maybe talk to them about that. I'd never thought about autism before at this point. My main struggle with the assessment phase, and this is obviously, like I say, a personal thing, was getting past the GP. And that wasn't because they were hesitant to put me forward for assessment. I went to speak to them and I said that I felt like I was suffering with mental health, but I've been told that maybe I'm autistic. Could I explore that route? And the doctor, she openly admitted to me she'd never actually seen a single person with autism before. She'd never had an autism case, somebody wanting to go forward with diagnosis. So she didn't know what to do. So she contacted the relevant specialist centre who do all the assessments and everything, and I had to wait. then called back, was given the autism quotient to fill out, which is 50 questions, and you have to sort of score a certain amount to be classified as, oh yes, they think I'm on the spectrum, therefore we'll put you through for a referral. And it is a good indication. The main problem I have now, looking back on it with the autism quotient, is that it feels like it's still very male centered questions, and females have a lot of different symptoms that aren't really covered in that, but it does give a really good indication as to whether you should go forward. Now, when I took this back to the GP, same GP again, even though I was in one of the centres where you could get seen by one of various GPs, she wanted to see me as the fact that she'd given me this sheet. She looked at it, and she looked at the sort of score sheet that she'd been given, which she barely looked at, and then just kind of ticked or crossed things depending on whether she thought they were right or not. She didn't look at the questions. It was just like, okay, if they're in these two left boxes, if there's a tick in there, then it's 1 point. If they're in the right two boxes, then it's 0 points. And anybody that's done the quotient will know that it doesn't work like that. That's the point in it, is so that you can't just go through it and just tick down it. Anyway, because I was watching her like a hawk, and I'd already done my own research at this point, I'm big on doing my own research, getting facts and things like that. I knew what she was doing was wrong. She scored me 23, which classifies me as being normal, not autistic, neurotypical, whatever you want to say. So I knew this was wrong at this point. And because I knew she was wrong, it annoyed me. And when I'm annoyed, I can't sit still. I get sort of quite hyperactive and move around. So I left the GP's office and went straight to reception, and I was like, this isn't right, I want to see another GP, which did happen. Luckily that GP, she researched into or had some knowledge of what to do, and I ended up scoring 42, a heavy indication that I'm autistic. And this was the first hallelujah moment in this whole sort of journey for me. When I first rang the GP's office to say I'm struggling with my mental health, I think I need help, that kind of thing, it was October 2018. When I had that final appointment, bearing in mind I'd gone backwards and forwards quite a bit at this point, it was April 2018. So it had taken me 6 months just to get over the kind of first hurdle, the first step or whatever. Not everyone's going to go through this type of experience. It all depends on the GP you go and visit. But doing my own research really, really helped me. And without that, I could have very easily been like, oh, well, it's not that. Gone back down the mental health route, ended up spending months going backwards and forwards until I just didn't have the energy to do it anymore, which is something that I'd done various times in the past. And, you know, would have ended up not being diagnosed, or even worse, I may have even been misdiagnosed, which, if you are misdiagnosed, you can't get the treatment and help that you need. So I found knowledge is key when wanting to get anyone to take you seriously on something that can affect the rest of your life. So the next month, I got a letter from the department that would be doing my assessment to say, you're on the waiting list. There is an average waiting time of 13 months. Yeah. 13 months average, so it could have been more, it could have been less, no idea. And this type of not having a specific date, you don't have an appointment on this time, and usually drives me crazy, and I'm usually a very impatient person. But at this point I felt relief that finally the way I'd felt my entire life was being taken seriously, and that I would finally be able to understand what I always thought was wrong with me. And I know that having autism doesn't mean there's something wrong with me. It's just, you know, that was the only way that I could communicate it at the time and to how I felt. And 13 months later came and it went. 14 months later came and went, 15 months, etc. And I hit the 1.5 year mark when I finally received a letter to say I was at the top of the list. So 1.5 years, May, June, July, August, September, October. So you're looking at October of 2019, so 2 years by this point since I'd originally contacted the doctors, and I finally was being told I was top of the waiting list and I need to contact the relevant department to make an appointment. Luckily, because I hate ringing people. I hate talking to anybody on the phone I don't know. But I didn't have to do this. I could do it by email, thank God. And so a few emails backwards and forth. I got my appointment date February the 6th, I think it was. 5th or 6th, can't remember at this point. But I finally got my appointment time. And this is where we get into some more information on what to actually expect. I was sent out 3 different pieces of paperwork to fill out. Now, I have a terrible memory, so please don't ask me to tell you what these 3 pieces of paperwork was. The only one I can remember is that it was for a parent or somebody that had known me from childhood to fill out to do with my childhood development. And these paperwork was, it wasn't just 3 pieces of paper. This was A4 sized, sort of small booklets to do. And like I said, I can't remember all of the details. The childhood one just sticks out because it was probably the one that I spent the most time on it. And these were what I would then need to take to the assessment with me. They also sent a sheet, which obviously they're an autism specialist department. They know what it's like to be autistic and that you can't visualise things properly. So they sent a sheet which gave instructions on how to find where I needed to go, directions on how to get there if I was driving, but then there was also a diagram and there was a photo of the front of the building, which meant finding it was incredibly easy. And this did come in handy on the day because I was worried I was going to the wrong place, but then I had the picture in my hands and I knew exactly where I was going. It was incredibly helpful. And I received all this before Christmas, so I had plenty of time to fill all the necessary paperwork out as well. And I was going to see my family around Christmas, so I sat down with my mum when everybody was out the house, Dad was at work and what have you, and we sat and filled the childhood one out. And it was nice to actually do because the amount of light bulbs going off in both my mum's head and my head during this time are the really obvious signs during my childhood that I was autistic. It was bordering on comical. And we came out with a whole load of information to put down for the questions. All throughout this process, it just became more and more obvious to me that I was autistic, and I was 99.9% sure that I was. There's always that 1% of doubt in my mind, at least. But by the time of the assessment, I was sure that I was going to get diagnosed. I was sure that I was autistic, but the nerves obviously still set in. And then it gets to your actual day of the assessment. I was really nervous. That's going to be normal. Everybody says they're nervous, but I'm going to kind of tell you a little bit of what to expect. You've got all the information which helps to get you prepared. You'll get sent a letter which will say on it, bring these sorts of things. This is how long your appointments last and everything. I was told my appointment would last about 3 hours, to bring food and drink with me, that kind of thing. That I could take a break if I needed. I could take like a proper lunch break if I needed, not just 5 minutes, which was very helpful. Just knowing that information, knowing I could turn around and say, okay, I'm getting a bit overwhelmed, can I have a break from this? Those little things just massively help ease all the nerves for the day. Now, me being me, I packed a ridiculous amount of stuff. I had 2 drinks, sandwiches, various snacks, my iPad, headphones, I had a book, way too much. My bag was heavy, but I like to be prepared. But food and drink is definitely important to take with you, just to keep you going, especially because my appointment, I think, started at about 11 o'clock, something like that, so it was going to go over lunchtime, so I'd need food to take with me. Also, take anything else that makes you feel relaxed. If you have any sensory toys or anything like that, especially if you find it harder to communicate, the earlier in the appointment that you can relax and start opening up, the easier it kind of becomes. Now, I don't know if you noticed, I'm a bit of a talker, and when I'm nervous, I ramble on about just about anything. I will talk about pretty much any subject. So that was never going to be a problem with me. And it does sound the information to take someone with you, like a parent, somebody who's known you long enough to talk about how, your symptoms and all things like that. But I don't live near anybody that can do that. My boyfriend came with me but he's only known me for a year, so he wasn't going to give any essential information. But actually it turned out to not be important. The information that was on the form that me and my mum had filled out was enough, and anything that needed clarification, I know enough about my childhood from me and my mum speaking about these things that I could clarify on those subjects and go into a little bit more depth. I got to my appointment about 20 minutes early because, like I say, I like to be prepared. I didn't think I was going to be quite that early, but I was. But luckily Erin was with me, so I had somebody to talk to, take my mind off it. The lady doing my assessment, she was pretty much exactly on time, and she came out to get me and take me to the assessment room, unlike sort of at the GPs where, you know, your name flashes out, go to room number whatever. She actually came out and got me. And like I said, Erin didn't bother coming in the room, so he just went off and I went into the room and the assessment started. When I first went in the room, obviously the lady introduced herself and she outlined what was going to happen right at the start. So this eases you into it really, really well and just helps you to relax. And she reiterated to me that if I needed to take a break, just to let her know. And there was some light questions, like she asked me what I hoped I would get from the appointment, but also how I would feel if it didn't quite go my way, if it turned out that actually it wasn't autism, how would I feel about that? And I'd not really thought about that, so it was a really interesting question for her to ask me, and I was kind of glad she did, although it did set some worries that I just sort of dwelled on throughout the whole appointment. After that, we got on with the assessment. 90% of it is just talking. It's just the assessor asking you questions about your childhood, school, that kind of thing, you know. And like I said, I like to ramble, so I provided more than enough information to what she needed. Towards the end of the appointment, I was given 3 small tasks to do with some pictures, and then a small slip of paper with a few written questions, which actually is an ADHD indicator. Had been told at the beginning of the assessment that there are different ways that the end of the assessment could go. If it was very obvious that I've got autism, then I may be told at the end. But also, I may not be given an answer that day. They may have to look into all the sort of paperwork I'd provided and things like that, maybe talk to other colleagues, those sorts of things. But I was very lucky that at the end of the assessment, the lady asked me if I wanted to know what her outcome is. Of course, I was like, well, yeah, this is what I'm here for. She told me there and then that I am autistic and how I felt about it. Obviously, my main feeling was actually that I was incredibly relieved. But she did also tell me that there's a high indication that I also have ADHD, which is something that I'd never even thought about. And my preconceptions of ADHD just didn't seem to fit with the way that I felt and the way I think and things like that. But after looking into it more, it is a little bit obvious. And you're always asked permission for everything. They're never going to do something without your permission. So she asked me if I wanted to get an ADHD diagnosis and she would put me on the waiting list. I was like, yep, sure, I'll do that. Which turns out to be a blessing in disguise, because trying to get medication from a GP I can't get without the ADHD diagnosis for anything to do with ADHD. So it's definitely worth being put on the list for that. And like I said, not everybody's going to get an answer at the end of their assessment, so you need to be a little bit prepared for so a bit more waiting time after the appointment. But they'll tell you at the end whether, you know, what they're going to do, whether they think you're autistic, whether they're going to look into it a little bit more. They'll let you know at the end. And even I've seen some people having to go for more than one assessment, so just be prepared that might be something that you have to do. The stage I'm currently at is that I've received my official diagnosis report, which I got at the end of March, but this is also meant to be sent to my doctors, and as of last week, I think it was, they've told me they haven't received it yet. This means that I can't be referred to any help anywhere until they receive that, and of course the whole quarantine situation isn't helping with me, you know, trying to find out where that report is. But when I have more information on that, I will update you guys, let you know how it's going and see where we're at. For anybody that's actually currently waiting assessment, I hope that this video has given you a bit more information on what type of things you can expect. If you have any questions about it, pop them in the comments below. I'll answer them the best I can. And also, if you like to see any particular subjects that you would want me to do videos about, pop those in the comments below as well, and I'll look into it. I do try and research my videos as best I can. Obviously, if it's a personal experience video, then I'm just going to be talking from my own point of view, my own opinions. But that's it for this week. I will see you again next Saturday. Bye.